So this screencast is all about compression and codecs, and we're just going to take you through the rules of what goes on with compression and how codec kind of fits into that as well. So start off with what is compression. Compression is where we reduce video data to more manageable file sizes. So by now, with the work we've done so far this year, you'll be aware of how much data is produced and how big the file sizes are when you create a video. So we need those to be a lot smaller and a lot more manageable when we come to output them and view them at the end of our projects. What happens when video is compressed? Well, as we've just mentioned, we end up with a much smaller file size and therefore a lower data rate, which means it's a lot easier for us to process and distribute and store those files and work with them. Video compression is all about finding the right balance between reducing your data volume and the effect that has on your image quality. So the more you try and reduce your file and you take that information away and you've got a lower data rate, the more that has an effect on your image quality, and that starts to reduce as well. So you have to find a kind of a happy medium to work with. There's different types of compression. So there's two main types, intraframe and interframe. So intraframe is where the image is treated, the frame is treated like a still image. So all the information in that frame is captured and compressed. Tends to be used with a codec such as JPEG. And interframe, this is where the different keyframes are recorded, but rather than all the information being recorded, just the differences are picked up. So, for example, if you're filming somebody being interviewed and you've got a plain background, the information for the background isn't recorded each time. It's just the person being interviewed, because chances are they're moving or there'll be some kind of movement. So it's that movement that's being recorded for each frame. So where you've got something solid that doesn't move and there's no change, that doesn't actually get recorded. So when we work compression, we also refer to codecs. So what is the codec? The codec is the actual compression software. So it's the type of compression that we're working with and what our ultimate aim is. So where is codec found? Codec is found throughout the whole of your filming process, through the editing and your final outputting. So there's a codec within the camera. So the cameras we're using, that's a DV codec. You'll also find codecs within your editing software. So if you can find Cut or Premiere, there'll be codecs within that. Internet settings, so for example YouTube and Vimeo have their own preferences of what codec they prefer to be able to display videos, so H.264 and MPEG-4 are the general ones there. And then things like DVD players and mobile phones also have their own preferences, so you need to be aware of what those preferences are and what codecs are preferred, and make sure that your choice of output, you know what the codec is for that, so that you've adapted your film so it can be viewed in the best possible quality and matches that codec. Different codecs. So as we just mentioned, H.264, MPEG-4 is what we tend to use for video, web and Blu-ray. So that's the most common for the work we're doing with YouTube and Vimeo. MPEG-2 also works with video and kind of is sourced for DVD. MPEG-3 works with audio. JPEG is with images, and then there's some others, so AVI, QuickTime, also common ones that we come across. Finally, a couple of things you should just be aware of terminology wise. So we talk about lossless and lossy, and this is where we're talking about once the file has been compressed, when you come to view it and it's uncompressed, what's actually going on there. So lossless is where the codec has compacted all the data without losing any information. So if you're using a lossless codec, then your file sizes won't be as small as they could be, but you'll retain some of that image quality. And if you use lossy, then this is where the codec throws away information, so the file sizes are dramatically reduced, so you end up with that aim of getting that very small file size, but you've also reduced the quality of your image. So again, it's finding that fine balance between what you're trying to sacrifice between your file size and your image quality. Okay, that's the end of that session.